I am a father to 3 beautiful children. They are my absolute world and all I could have ever hoped and dreamt of having. My proudest achievement in life. I left my wife, the mother, in 2014 and started suffering the consequences of parental alienation almost immediately. Small things, sabotages, constant little problems, then led on to greater issues with false allegations in which I lost my children for a month for the first time, and that really completely ripped my heart out. I'd never felt pain like it. Time went on and another false allegation of such a vile, horrific nature occurred that I can't really talk about it, but it left me pretty broken again and not seeing my children for a further 3 weeks. This went on for about 5 years until the most horrific thing happened in 2019 in March, when I dropped the children back to their mother, and once again a false allegation came forward and my children essentially vanished. They vanished from their schools, they vanished from their home. They were kidnapped, in my view. I was then reportedly so terrifying that the children were so scared of me that they couldn't see me anymore. And this legal battle has been going on now for over 2 years. I've had 0 contact with my children for over 2 years now. Just about every agency and courts and so on are involved, but no one actually appears to want to get to the truth and remedy the situation and return my children to their father and my children to me. I feel now it's just an opportunity for people to be making money. I have provided witness statement after witness statement with untold evidence in black and white, colour, film of the truth, and no evidence has ever been produced to anyone that justifies the action that's going on. We're now in a situation where the children have a legal guardian and they have a legal barrister supporting their case, who again appear to want to do nothing more than prolong the situation and make even more money out of it. It took her 3 weeks to take the children away from me with an urgent court application, and when I took her back to court after she had breached a court order, it took me the best part of a year to get a hearing. The pressure became so great in the end that I had tried through various avenues getting myself into trouble with the law in a non-violent way to try and get in front of judges so that they could help see the truth. I ended up with criminal records for it. I've ended up with a criminal record for something that I didn't do at all, and the criminality was actually the children's mother calling the police. Catastrophically, I attempted suicide at the beginning of December 2020 and fortunately survived that, but now coming back stronger. I have written a book, I have created a website, Instagrams and Facebooks, and I am joining what appears to be far too many people out there fighting the same battle. I call my book and my campaign Legally Stolen Children. The website is www.legallystolenchildren.com. I am doing my best to help other people. I believe my book is a resource that I could have used probably 4 or 5 years ago. I hope it can help other people. I hope it can help end the child abuse that is parental alienation. And I hope to help as many people as I can while still living a very lonely and empty life without my children. But as they say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I speak out. I speak out for Cheyedentity, and I speak out for legally stolen children. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Brian McLaughlin, and I speak out. I'd like to talk to you about parental abduction and alienation. I have spent my entire life dealing with both of these issues. At 2 years old, my father kidnapped me. As a child and young adult, I did reach out and attempt to find my mother. At 8 years old, my father told me that my mother was a partier and that she was demonized. At 16, he told me that she had thrown me halfway across a room onto a bed and said, "This doesn't even feel like my child." At 18, my father told me that my mother had died. I was 33 when, as I was looking for my mother's grave, I did find her. And I found my mother very much alive. I discovered that she had written letters to my father begging to see me. She searched me for 7 years before she gave up and attempted suicide. Fortunately, her attempt was unsuccessful, but she did end up with brain damage. What most parents don't realize is that parental alienation hurts the children. A parent tells a child, "Your father's a drunk," or "Your mother's an idiot." Children know they are two halves of both their parents. And they think to themselves, if my father's a drunk, then what am I? If my mother's an idiot, then I too must be an idiot. You may think that you're getting back at the other parent, but you could be destroying your child's self-esteem, even endangering their future relationships. The relationship your child has with your ex is not the relationship you have with your ex. Every child needs both parents. As long as the other parent is not abusive, you should be nurturing your child's love for the other parent. I'm 56 years old, and I am still dealing with my father's vengeful alienation. Please, put parental alienation behind you and put your child's healthy future in front of you. I'm Brian McLaughlin. I am a survivor of parental abduction and alienation, and I speak out.
My name is Kim Warner, and I am just going to give some information regarding parental alienation. According to Healthline.com, parental alienation is a situation in which one parent uses strategies, sometimes referred to as brainwashing, alienating, or programming the child to become distant from the other parent. Experiences that I've had have been in business, whereas I work in mental health and life coaching. I've experienced working with individuals who have had children that were alienated from them. The courts gave the parent that alienates the other parent power to keep the child from the parent in question. And so what this causes is different disorders and mental health issues for the child growing in society as well as the parent, and her or his ability to continue as a parent. It causes dysfunctions furthermore. I believe also that there are different cases where parental alienation happens and maybe the parent feels like they're doing the right thing, but I believe the courts need to change some things to give the child a fair chance of knowing their parents. I've seen so many people, even in social media, that are, giving cries of desperation to see their children, where the other parent has taken the child away. This is a delicate situation when you talk about parental alienation, because there's so many dynamics there, but the one thing that I think is most needed is for parents that are experiencing these situations to get, some kind of therapy, counseling, or coaching, so that they can find who they are in the pretense of the situation at this time, because who you were when you were with the individual that's alienating you, you're not the same person. That means that you gotta get a foundation and structure and a support system where you can grow and become strong enough to overcome this. My name is Kim Warner, and I speak out.
Hello, I'm Jill, and I speak out. I'm here today to tell you a little bit about my experience with parental alienation and what it means to me. What it means to me today is very, very different than what it meant to me 16 years ago coming into this arena as an alienated mother. Like many of you, I sat in a dark room in the middle of the night in front of a computer, keystroke after keystroke, searching for something that would tell me what was happening to me and to my children, who are the true victims in all of this. The words parental alienation kept popping up. Every Google search led to parental alienation. And simply put, parental alienation is when one parent turns the children against the other parent and his or her family, most oftentimes through adversarial divorce, although it can happen in an intact marriage. When I say I speak out, I truly mean that in every aspect of my life. And what I sought to do, rather than turn to sadness and heartbreak, which is very much part of the parental alienation experience, I knew that I couldn't curl up in a ball and hide, because this is a disease that is meant to be suffered in silence. The alienator wants you to curl up and go away. I decided to speak out. I went to the only organization that I could find on the internet, Parental Alienation Awareness Organization, and started to speak with their board members, and eventually was put onto that board. They were located in Canada, and we wanted to be able to start chapters here in the United States. So out of that thought process, the Parental Alienation Awareness Organization USA was founded, and we began to initiate chapters throughout the country. The saying, "If you build it, they will come," is truly a reality, because when that began, there were so many people who had not had a voice in this arena that were coming forward to ask questions and look for resources and try to find ways to help their situation, whether they were at the mild, moderate, or severe level of parental alienation. It's a very, very sad process to go through, but I have to tell you that I'm here today as a living testament that at the end of the process, when your children are grown and you're hopeful that they'll come back, there is a way to make it through to that light at the end of the tunnel. A strong support system is so helpful. Being confident and living your life to the full and thinking about who you want to be if your children do come back. Please make sure that you are always strong and willing to go forward and never, ever give up. Please check out our website, PAAOUSA.org. We would love to hear from you if you need any help. I'm Jill, and I speak out.
Well, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much. I am so honored, and it's such a pleasure to be with you here today. Today is the 25th annual Parental Alienation Awareness Day, and we have a very special event for you today. We have a panel of, parents who have been experienced alienation. We have an expert who has worked in the field of parent alienation, and we get to hear some stories. And today is just about building awareness. My name is Michele Wilson. I am your moderator and host for today. And this is dear to my heart. To be very transparent, I didn't really know what parental alienation was, but I have a close family member who's been dealing with it for 10 years. I knew what she was going through, but I didn't know the name of it. And I've also known other parents who have experienced it. That's why I really feel honored to be the moderator today. So I'm going to first start out by just introducing you to our guest one by one. I just want to share with you a little bit about them, have them to share a little bit about your story. And then we are going to have a panel. And today it's all about, learning a little bit more about what parental alienation is, how it impacts children and parents who are alienated, and also some strategic solutions. That's what we're all about. We want to find some solutions that will help improve the family. So it is truly my honor to bring on our first guest, and it's Jill. Jill just shared with us, I saw a video, and she described to us, what parental alienation is. And, I just want to share a little bit about her. She does have an organization called PAAOUSA, and she is the former mayor, and she is the president and founder of the Parental Alienation Awareness Organization, USA. And she has hosted a radio show titled Family Matters with her co-host, Judge Michele Lowrance. So it's truly an honor, and it's truly a pleasure to have you here with us today. And just want you to take a few minutes, first, I know you shared with me that you've been a parent experiencing this over about 15 years, you said. And so just share a little bit how you got started, how this impacted you, and a little bit about your organization.
Sure. Thank you for having all of us here today, and what an honor to be here. And happy Parental Alienation Awareness Day, if you can say that.
Yes.
So how did this start for me? As I said in the video, I was searching for what was happening. I had, like all of us, a great loving relationship with all of my children. And it was deteriorating, and I couldn't figure out what was happening. Not only was it happening to me, it was also happening to my extended family, my father, my mother, my brother, my sister, the cousins. Everybody was being exterminated from the lives of my children and erased from the lives of my children. So everything that I do, I am go big or go home. So I thought, okay, and everyone says this to me when they're calling me about the parental alienation experience. I'm going to write a book. So I wrote a book. I went on The View. I went on Dr. Phil. I tried to become a very vocal mouthpiece for all parents who are going through parental alienation. However, when I entered this whole dynamic, there were very few women speaking out about what was happening to them. And there's a huge stigma about being a mother and not having your children. Not to demean anything that men go through, because as we know, this is not a gender issue. This happens equally to men and women from Maine to California and Australia to England. So it's definitely not a gender issue, but I saw that there was certainly not a very good balance on men speaking out and women coming forth. So when the Parental Alienation Awareness Organization USA was born, women sort of started to take that step out of the closet, take their seat on the bus, sort of move forward. Everybody started coming and wanting to be part of ways to change what was happening to their children, whether it be through judicial education or legislative change, or just being out there doing a Bubbles of Love campaign like everyone's doing today, blowing bubbles right now in your respective time zones. So it was a good thing. I like to create awareness, and I think that was something that has truly happened out of this. Although I did tell Lala the other day when we were talking, I feel like when I get a call, and I get calls every week, calls and emails, and someone says to me, hey, did you know there's a name for this? This is what's happening to me. And I always think I haven't worked hard enough, because there's still somebody somewhere that doesn't know what this is called. So we all have to work much harder in getting the word out, and platforms like this one are just the way to do it.
You're absolutely right. I know yesterday we talked briefly and I said, I didn't know this was, I did not know this was a thing. Not to call it a thing, but you know, as you said, I didn't know that there was a word. I saw it, I was witnessing, and I was actually one of those family members that was being impacted by it, but I didn't quite understand. And you're right, you know, the stigma of women, it happens to men and women equally, but it's that stigma. And, you know, it's kind of in that quiet desperation. You don't want to talk about it, right? Because you feel bad about it. So I just really thank you for joining us today. And we're looking forward to you to coming back on the panel. And now I'm going to go ahead and introduce our next speaker. I see Lala, but I don't see her up just yet. So we will go to, let's go to Dr. Mark Roseman. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to introduce him, and we'll have you back in a few minutes, okay? Hello, hello, Dr. Roseman. How are you?
This is A and this is B.
Okay.
A or B.
I see you on A, and thank you for joining us today. I have a little bio on you. You know, Dr. Roseman, you are a child custody consultant. Didn't know we had those. I'm learning everything. That's why we have these awareness, because we don't even know that these organizations occur. But you're a certified family life educator, a mediator, and an expert speaker on contemporary family issues, particularly in high conflict divorce and co-parenting. So tell me a little bit about your experience with parental alienation and really how you got started in this field.
Thank you. I, you know, following Jill's comments and certainly the film, both of which really encompass so much of this field of trying to understand, to attend some logic, and also to find means of resolving this phenomenon that has been so damning and damaging to families. It's really it's been frustrating for me for many years. About 23 years ago, I could not envision myself in this field. I would not have and could not have conceived of the phenomenons that a parent would so brutalize their children, abuse them, in order to sever the relationship that had been a healthy relationship between their children and the other parent. Could not have fathomed that. In fact, 25 years ago, I was a financial advisor. Today, I am not. And so everybody who is in particularly a vocation in human services is drawn not out of an innate a desire, you know, to express or to become involved or to learn, you become an advocate to make the change that, if not in your lifetime, then certainly in others. And so 25 years ago, I myself was in as Jill had said, a very surprising and unexpected change in dynamic with my children, and not a very changed dynamic with their mother, just a little more extreme, and resulted in our divorce and the withholding of the children through different aspects. Jill had mentioned, I believe in the film, that whether we label the actual interference by one parent towards the relationship with their children and another parent, there are multiple signs of these efforts that are psychological and that are physical, and all resulting in some type of brainwashing. But as Jill had said, it's either mild, moderate, or severe. And so in most cases, that is true. And so it becomes important to understand, what is happening, when to bring in interventions, when to certainly call attention to the issues that are impacting this family dynamic. And I was also struck today, as I am, with the fact that parental alienation, whether we accept that as a label or not, any abusive behavior to interrupt a child's relationship with the other parent should be punished. It needs to be controlled. And by the way, it happens to be international. So if there's any collusion, as our former, thank God, president had said, the collusion is that of those in the systems. Those systems that govern the way families are treated in the courts and also out of the courts. And that collusion international is to make it difficult for parents to have access to their children, and all are dealing with the effect of alienating or brainwashing behaviors by one parent towards another throughout the world. So 25 years ago, as I was struggling to understand the logic of what was happening and trying to find reasons why I may have elicited their reactions, why I may have been a cause for their mother's efforts to block me, I too was so discouraged by the system, meaning the legal system, use of attorneys, and the hiring of guardian ad litems and attorneys for the minor children, and going back to court, and repeatedly finding motions and evaluations, all very cookie cutter. The tragedy is that we have courts that still need major changes, and yet it drives parents to want to give up, commit suicide on the extreme, or to kill the other parent, to abduct their children. It really results in horrific statistics. I became a researcher. I'm trained in psychotherapy and providing interventions. I'm looking at the nature of high conflict divorce and wanting very much to become, in my lifetime, a witness to major change in the courts we call family court reform. Because oddly enough, and I'll just conclude with that introduction by saying that it was my work with the Children's Rights Council in Washington where we had the largest number of agencies providing supervised visitation, which is often a court order in high conflict situations. And so the services to at least help save a child's relationship with a parent through a court-ordered service request became paramount. And so that changed me into looking at not only research, but also looking at providing these very important services, which I've done in Florida, and we've become one of the major providers of these services in half of Florida. So I'm grateful to all of you, and we must continue to advocate and insist on change internationally.
Well, we really are so honored to have you on the panel today. And you made a couple of great points. You know, this is parental alienation, but it is a global awareness day. It is a global issue. So thank you for sharing that with us. And, you know, just the 25 years that you have been working in this field. So I'm really excited that you're going to be on our panel and enlighten us and give us some strategies of how, you know, as you said, it's really about awareness. And it seems like it's in all levels, you know, in the legal system and, you know, in the consulting, I mean, just all areas. We're really looking forward for you coming back. So thank you so much, Dr. Roseman.
Thank
and
you.
Now I'm going to introduce Lala. Lala, I'm going to go ahead and get her right on. So Lala, thank you so much for joining us. You are really the reason why I'm here. And the reason, you know, why I'm really understanding how, you know, parental alienation is impacting. Before I introduce you, I want to go ahead and share your quick video about your experience. So let's go ahead and let me share that.
Season's greetings, world. My name is Lala Justice, and I am the founder of Cheyedentity.org. The purpose of this video was to give you encouragement for many of you that are experiencing parental alienation around the globe. This is a very, very hard time of year. And with COVID-19 on the rise, I understand that for a lot of you, this is a very discouraging time. But I wanted to encourage you with my story, as well as the campaign of I Speak Out for you to keep up the good fight. I have been in this journey now for over 10 years. There have been 12 attorneys collectively, 6 judges, and I have also flown 404 flights. I don't want you to give up. I want you to be encouraged. This experience during this time of year has a lot of different emotions that you may experience. Suicide is at an all-time high, as well as divorces since COVID-19 with children are also on an all-time high. I want to encourage you during this holiday season to share my journey with you, but also to hear your voice as well on this platform of I Speak Out. I am a child of divorce, and I wanted to build Cheyedentity as a bridge for parents and other individuals, whether it's court officials, whether it's any type of law official, a therapist, a social worker, caseworker, guardian ad litem, mediator. I wanted them to understand what it looks like from a child's perspective when you're growing up in it, when you're in that conflict, and the ability to try to maintain your own identity when you're caught in the middle. Join me this holiday season on our campaign of I Speak Out. We want to hear your voice and we want to hear your story. We need a reform as it relates to parental access and unworkable judicial orders. Join me today and stay strong.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today. I wanted to share a little bit about who you are. Lala Justice is actually a founder of Cheyedentity, and actually today's event is really being presented by Cheyedentity, so thank you so much. Lala is an advocate, she's a mother, and she's also a CEO of the TCG, Production of Talent Media. She possesses a bachelor's degree in business with a minor in business law and marketing, and she is a certified in youth and adult counseling, pregnancy crisis intervention, suicide prevention, and is currently studying law. So thank you for joining us this morning or this afternoon. And I'd like to ask you to take yourself off of mute so we can hear your beautiful voice. And just share a little bit. I mean, we heard your story just, you know, in the video. Thank you so much for sharing and just being so transparent and courageous. I love what Jill said earlier. You know, she said, never, never give up. And I've seen you on this journey for 10 years. And when I heard 400, well, not I heard, I saw you like 440 something flights. I'm like, where are you? You know, and I just want to just acknowledge you for your courageousness, like not to give up on your child. So if you can just share a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here today, and I'm truly grateful that everyone is joining us on this panel. Parental alienation started for me 11 years ago now. When I made the video previously, it was only 6 judges and 12 attorneys collectively. Now it's 7 judges and 13 attorneys collectively. And I actually stopped counting 404 a little over 2 years ago. So it's actually more than that. But being a child of divorce, we have a tendency to flock to what's familiar, whether it's behavior, issues, the relationships that we choose. And during my marriage, I was able to identify a lot of familiar aspects that I'd forgotten about. And when the divorce had taken place and the tug of war started to begin, it brought me back to a place where I remembered the horrific experiences that I had psychologically, and being able to process that through middle school and high school and everything that's going on and what children actually experience. And I looked at my kids and I said, do I really want to repeat this for them, or do I want to make a stand to make it different? And having an understanding of that conflict and what it does when the child is in the middle, and the importance of a child maintaining their own identity. If they can't maintain their own identity, then they're going to repeat the same situations over and over again. And through that, Cheyedentity was birthed. And it's an ongoing thing. And we have to continue to build alliances and having support groups because, like you said, a lot of people have no idea what parental alienation is. And it can be hard to identify by the time you figure out what it is. And the constant resistance that you experience, and then the trauma that you also get to relive from being a child into your adulthood and reevaluating the behaviors that you've now developed currently. So I stand with I Speak Out after another disappointment of not being able to get my child during the holidays, which was very, very heart-wrenching. So we must be speaking to the wrong audience. I think we have to speak publicly to make a change and to impact awareness so that the judicial system can change ultimately.
Thank you. And tell us a little bit about the I Speak Out. It is a campaign that you're launching so that, as you said, it's really horrific for the parent who's alienated, but it's really, it's the child who really gets impacted, right? You know, and so tell me a little bit about your campaign, and we're really excited that you're going to start, you know, like I said, speaking out about this I say horrific, you know, issue that we have that's not only here in the United States, but global.
So the campaign, like I said, it was birthed when I flew to go and pick up my child, and the exchange coordinator telling me they're not coming back this time. Mm-hmm. And I thought to myself, with so much frustration, like, this is insanity. You know, this has got to stop. And so I realized in that moment that we're not being heard, you know, and oftentimes through behaviors, the other parent may not even realize that they're acting in that type of manner. They may actually feel like they're right. And parental alienation, oftentimes it becomes more about the conflict, and it is about the conflict, but it also is about the child. And many times I would say there's a lot of judgment with friends and family members, and they don't quite understand how it breeds like a virus and how it has different branches and how it affects friends, family, grandparents. It affects everybody. So I wanted to hear the voices of not only survivors of parental alienation, but children that were that experienced it, grandparents that experienced it, step-parents that experienced it. Because again, they think of parental alienation, they think angry mom, angry dad, and they forget about what it does to the child and how the child doesn't have the opportunity to develop those relationships. And I feel like if our voices are heard and if we can speak out and form a united front, then maybe the judicial system could take a double look at how it affects a child not having a bond with their siblings or not having a bond with an auntie or a grandparent. You know, I don't think that they really understand what it looks like. So if you have true stories that have actually happened, then maybe we can build an alliance to where we can make it go away, make it stop at this point. So that's why I built the campaign, because at this point, when you're back and forth in court and you're providing evidence and you're looking for change and you see the injustice in it on both sides, not just on my side at times, but also on the other parent's side as well. But we obviously must be speaking to the wrong audience. So I would like to speak out, because hopefully in speaking out, I can bring awareness to other parents and other survivors of parental alienation, because it can make you feel really, really alone. And there's always a misunderstanding because your family members don't understand it. Your friends don't understand it. They just think, oh, this is a bad divorce. This is a tug of war. They're fighting amongst their kids. They have no idea of the premeditative strategies that go into this conflict that ultimately dictate that child's behavior into adulthood and their decisions that they're going to make, and the relationships that they're going to choose. And so I stand to speak out and work, doing my own self-work, my own self-discovery, my own awareness, so that I can give something back to the parents and other survivors that feel lost. And I have not done this alone. I've had a strong bridge, as you know, and I'm sure we're going to get into that as the panel goes on.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Lala, and we're looking back to having you join us on the panel, but thank you for sharing your story and just being courageous. So now our next guest we're going to bring on is Art. So, hello, Art. Scott,
Hello.
how are you?
Now, I am very wonderful. It's very empowering to hear such fantastic stories. I have a little different contribution to add to this story. I am not a parent. However, I am well versed in injustice. I was a criminal defense attorney. My life was stolen from me by criminal cops that I had targeted for their criminal actions. Through illegal conduct and surveillance, they had realized that I was coming after them and beat me to court, fabricated evidence, did a tremendous amount of perjury, literally 134 acts of perjury, all provable. The government had nothing to say against it. The government even began joining in the lies, and the court's mindset literally was, yeah, so, okay. On appeal, the government's attorneys were lying, and the Court of Appeals kept calling multiple proven acts of perjury misstatements. I fought this battle for 8 years, took it all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court to try to protect our email and from us being attacked by perjury. And the U.S. Supreme Court last December said, no, we're not interested in hearing this. So it has been an incredible fight. I understand very well the injustice of the system. I can tell you without a doubt that you are a file. That's all you are in the eyes of the court. You're a file, and the sooner that we can clear you off of our desk, the sooner I can go to lunch. It's that simple. The sooner I can clear you, the sooner I get to go home early. I will find any excuse I can to come up with some procedural base, some BS method of finding that I don't have to think, so I can clear you off my desk. And that is the sad reality of what the justice system is. There was a video earlier about a gentleman who has a very similar story to mine about fabricated evidence and proof, actual proof of the lies, and the courts just don't care. It is a very disempowering feeling. And I was a criminal defense attorney. Literally, it was my field. So it's when you feel powerless, that your attorneys aren't doing it and the system isn't doing it. I had every ounce of power. I had every law on my side. I had every fact on my side, and the courts still refused to do anything. So you're not alone in feeling this powerlessness and injustice. It's simply the way that the system is. The system is beyond corrupted, is beyond broken. It is simply a manner of processing files. And there is this phenomena that's in court. I've seen it for years practicing, that he who speaks first is the truth teller, and he who speaks second is the liar. So whoever gets to court first is the word of God, and whoever comes to court second is the liar and is coming from the devil. And they can't get past it. They can't get past that they would have bought a lie to begin with. And they just don't know how to move past that. So What my contribution is, how to survive this storm. I did everything there was. I did every kind of drug there was to stop the pain. I ate as much food as I could find to stop the pain. I isolated myself to stop the pain. And everything I did not stop the pain. I woke up the next morning and the pain was still there. There is no amount of anything that will alleviate the pain from an external source. The only thing that we can do is to find love in our hearts. That's genuinely the only way about this. There was a great thing I heard on a TV show called Kidding, Jim Carrey, and he had said, hate doesn't hurt who you think it does. If I'm sitting there hating you, you don't even know that I'm hating you. I'm the one feeling hate. I'm the one who's having my day destroyed. I'm the one who's living in suffering because I'm feeling hate. And the only thing I can do is love these justices, love these cops, because it's my life and I ultimately have the right to engage in the spiritual experiences that I want to experience. And through all of this horrible turmoil, I have truly come to understand that I have a loving God, and this loving God has a loving plan for me. And I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me, but I have faith that it exists. And in the end, the best that I can make of it is that this experience as a whole has taught me that no matter how bad the storm is, I am responsible for my own serenity inside. And that is ultimately my gift and my responsibility to maintain my serenity, no matter how horrible the outside circumstances are. Because despite going through this horrible storm, this was 8 years, once I realized this and started practicing it, for the last 3 years of that storm, despite going through absolute hell, I felt serene and at peace and just continued to fight. And after the fight was lost and there was no other recourse, I still was left with my serenity and my peace and the love in my heart, because this is my life and my existence, and I choose how I get to experience that existence. And so I speak out for injustice. I speak out on how to survive injustice. So thanks for letting me share this.
Thank you so much, Art, and we're looking forward that maybe, you said through love and just really forgiveness is your strategy, because it's beyond our understanding, but I'm looking forward for you to joining us during the panel and just sharing some more insights of, so what you did just to handle, this injustice that you've been going through, and sharing with us, how parents and, how children can really live through this experience. And our topic today is about parental awareness and just, bringing awareness that it does exist. So thank you so much. And now I am going to bring on our next guest, who is Brian. So give me one moment. So Brian, hello, how are you today? Thank you so much for joining us. I know that you are the founder of River Road Media, but we shared your video on our pre-show. You were a victim as a child. And so I'm really looking forward to learning a little bit more about yourself. And if you could just share a little bit more about your story, because you have definitely been impacted through parental alienation. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, I am that child. And so I can attest to what these experts and alienated parents are talking about. It really does injure the children when we try to alienate them, or someone tries to alienate them from the other parent. I was kidnapped at 2 years old, and my father used probably the most common technique that alienating parents use, which is fear. My father told me when I was 8 years old, my mother was demonized. And I was raised in a very religious organization, so that really scared me and kept me from wanting to reach out to her. But after a few years, my teenage years, I decided I wanted to find, a little bit more about my mother. And my father finally told me my mother had died. So I spent a few years just letting it go, and I finally found my mother and discovered she was alive. So parents need to realize that their children realize they are of both parents. So when you degrade the other parent to the child will take that on. If you say your parent's a drunk, the other parent is a drunk, the child will wonder, well, maybe I'll be a drunk when I get older too. So I went through that, and I found my mother, and I now have her, though I discovered she attempted suicide, and she did damage her brain. But every morning I text or call her husband to make sure they're doing okay. In my journey about 14 years ago, I created a nonprofit called Prevent Parental Kidnap. And I was able to speak throughout the country and in Hong Kong. And we were probably our greatest accomplishment is we were able to change Washington state law. I was divorced during this time, and I discovered that when you divorce in Washington and you have children, you have to take a parenting class. But nowhere in this class did they discuss parental abduction or alienation. So we were able to get that changed in law. So now they have to discuss the issues, and they offer a pamphlet also. So the nonprofit is not in existence today, but we did some really great stuff. And along with that, I wrote a book about my journey, Prevent Parental Kidnap. And I've heard a lot of stories. I've heard a lot of pain. And I really appreciate what the last speaker was saying. Sometimes we are in hopefully a short-term helpless position. And we've got to find that inner peace to help us gain strength for the next battle, if you will. So I just want to know the parents out there who are being alienated to know that I've actually have also been the alienating parent also. I'm not going to go into that now. But there can be a lot of beautiful light at the end of the tunnel. I have seen situations where the children never come around. But I think of the cases that I have experienced and heard, most of the time, when the children get older, they do reach out. They want to know where they come from. And that's pretty much who I am.
Thank you so much. I mean, even though it's traumatic, but thank you for showing us that there is hope, there is still light. And as Jill said earlier, just never give up. So thank you for joining us, and we're looking forward for you to joining our panel shortly. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and bring on our next guest that I can introduce. We have Linda Hall, and let me bring her on the stage. Hello, Linda. I just need you to unmute yourself, hopefully, or are you on your other? There we go. So Linda, I believe I have, you are the founder of an Inclusion Clubhouse. I've been to your few events. Thank you so much. You are an advocate, you're a mom, and just share a little bit more about, who you are and your experience with parent alienation, because we are just really about, creating change, and it all comes with awareness. So share us a little bit about who you are and a little bit about your story.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Michelle. This is amazing. I'm so honored to be here and to be a part of this, because as you had stated earlier, parental alienation, I've experienced it my whole life without even realizing that it had a name to it. Maybe not always personally or directly, but indirectly. And it's crazy that, wow, parental alienation is such a real thing. My name, again, is Linda, and I am the founder of Inclusion Clubhouse and Janai's Angels. And I am an advocate for special needs families, as well as parental alienation awareness, now that I am so much more aware of what it is. And I realize how impacted so many of our families are by it. Inclusion Clubhouse was birthed through my need as a parent of 4. My daughter has cerebral palsy, and there's such a lack of services and resources for families like mine, and the need for help for the whole family, not just the child with special needs, but the parents, they need support, the siblings, the whole unit needs support. As you know, our children are affected by what they see in the home. And parental alienation is something that deeply affects the kids. And I think parents get so caught up in their struggle and in their feelings They don't realize that these little humans are watching everything that we do and everything that we say and how we treat each other. And I also realize the more I work with families who have special needs, there are so many of them who are going through separation and divorce because it's a lot, you know, families in general, you know, sticking it out and working together and working it out, and communication is such key in any relationship. But then when there's that divide, people just don't know what to do. Like, they're all in their feelings. It's ego, it's pride, and they don't stop for a second to think, like, what is this teaching my child? And words hurt. You know, sticks and stones may break our bones and words will never hurt me is so false. You know, like, they hurt all of us. And you know, we try to play like we're tough and we're not. And it's nice to know that there is help and that there is a name for what people are experiencing. And it's not just in our heads. We're not crazy. It's more than just baby mama drama or, you know, dad's deadbeat or whatever. There's so much behind everyone's story. And a lot of times people only hear and see one side. And it all ultimately comes down to how it affects the child. And that's why I'm here. And that's why I speak out.
And thank you for speaking out, Linda. You know, I've been to your events, and just the inclusion that you have for the special needs, you know, you make it a safe and fun place. Because as you said, as parents, you know, I'm a mother of a special needs child, and I've been able to attend your events. And so just for you to give us that space for children, because this is what parental alienation awareness is really about. It's about the child. Yes, the parents are being impacted, but it's the child who gets really impacted the most. So thank you for that, Linda, and we're looking forward for you joining us on the panel shortly. So we'll see you soon. And now I'm going to bring on our next guest, who's actually from the UK. His name is Chris, and he's with Legally Stolen Children, and he's from the UK. So like I said earlier, you know, this is a global awareness day. And so thank you so much. Oops, I think we lost Chris. Hopefully he will come back. So you know what I'm going to do? We'll bring Chris back on and introduce him shortly, but I'm going to go ahead and bring the panel on. So we're going to welcome everybody back on. So we have Jill, we have Dr. Roseman, and thank you for joining us, Art. We have Brian, Lala, and actually, here we go, Jill. I think this Jill here. I'm not sure. That, and then we'll bring Linda back on. So, as I said, today is about awareness, and you know, I heard the stories, and they're just so heartfelt. And today, I want to really kind of move into, you know, we know that it impacts the children, but I just kind of want to go around the panel again once more, because really the whole purpose is really about, you know, what are some of the strategic solutions that we can, you know, have to help parents, to help children to overcome this. But I want to go ahead, and I heard everyone's story a little bit, but I just want to get a little bit more just as far as today and what today really means to you. So who would like to go first? And we'll start with Dr. Roseman, since he's here right next to me. I'll go ahead and reach out to Dr. Roseman. Tell me a little bit more. I know you said you've been in the, you know, the field for 25 years, but what do you see as today as, you know, how can we really raise the awareness? We're going to be talking about strategic solutions, but really raise the awareness, because as I said earlier, even Linda said, I didn't even know that this word existed. I've seen the behaviors, we understand it, but we didn't really know that it is something that is really an issue that's nationwide and global wide. So we'd like to hear a little bit more about your feedback and take on.
Well, thank you. You know, it really requires, I think, unfortunately, continued education of the current family court and courts that will regulate and oversee temporary foster care. In Florida, where I reside currently, It is dependency court in other states. They will call it juvenile court, although juvenile in other states simply looks at criminal matters affecting youths. But we need to continue to educate. But, you know, having seen so many efforts to educate and reach out, my fear is this. Number one, in these last 20 plus years, we've had new attorneys come into the field who themselves are a product of single parent households, right? Because 40% of children live in single parent households, and get a load of this, 40% of kids are prescribed prescription medication for ADD, ADHD, and other behavioral conditions. You have children who are, you know, bullying in school, taking alcohol and drug self-medication. They're still, escalating juvenile crime, particularly among females. And you have a graduation record nationally that's 70% or less. And I think it's less because they're including children who have, beyond the age of 18, left school and are finishing their GEDs, in later years. So, we're not connecting the dots. And I think that there is a resistance by the systems in wanting to connect the dots and also in wanting to change. And there needs to be a demand for change. You know what? We need to have a unified effort internationally that challenges the court systems, holds them accountable, because every court decision, according to research, is going to affect a family, not immediately, and not just for this current generation, but up to 6 generations. That's the statistic. And courts must be held accountable because they are making decisions, issuing orders that are having such an impact on our families today and for the next 150 years. And they're being made by judges who do not want to be in family court. So I suggest that it's not just education, because again, you've got the challenges by those who are products of single parent households. Most of those are fathers who have left 25 years ago or been out of their lives. And yes, we're dealing with an equal amount today of numbers of mothers and fathers who have been pushed out of their children's lives. But you've got these attorneys and young judges who themselves are jaded by that experience. And so we need to also look at how do we talk about restorative justice. If you listen to what Keith Ellison said, Attorney General for Minnesota, he said justice is about restitution, but you can't expect that there will be restitution. So there's got to be ethical resolution, at least momentarily. So it's education, but it's also completely attempting a reformation of the family courts, but it has to be done in a way that's not threatening to the existing system, because that is definitely a threat. It's a fear that they would have. It might be a relief to some. But I believe that there needs to be unified voice. You need to have documentation, and parents who are litigating must bring in the research on child outcomes. I wrote a book. Everyone writes books. I think it's important to do that. They will proliferate. They'll be more visible. But I wrote a book 2 years ago called Preserving Family Ties. Much of it is for free on Google Books. However, it looks at the research when parents split. What happens to children? And so I cited some of the considerations, and forums like this help unify our voices. Now we have to move forward in creating a unified response.
Thank you so much, Dr. Roseman. And I'd like to go to Jill, because I know she's been, you talked about that unified response. You talked about the legal system and really, making change. And I know it's really difficult to make change to a legal system. And so I want to hear Jill's perspective, because I know she's not only been a parent, but also had to work through the system. So share with us, your thoughts also about how we can really, raise awareness and give us maybe some strategic solutions of how we can really help parents, with this issue.
So I think helping parents and changing the system are two very different things. Helping parents is what I do all week long. Essentially, I'm a parental alienation cheerleader, is what I like to call it sometimes, when parents are calling and they're lost and they've spent all their money and they're psychologically and emotionally devastated. They have not one dime left. I listen to their story. Every story is virtually the same. It's no different than mine, no different than yours, no different than Mark's, save for a few nuances that enter into that family dynamic. So I think just helping those parents achieve what Art said earlier, sort of that inner peace, and get them to the point where they see and not an end to this, but hope that they won't have to continually fight for the next 15 years, if their child is 3 years old, to try to deal with anger and all the emotions, the rainbow of emotions that come with this, and if there's a way to work it out, to try to do that, especially if you're in the very early stages of this. After all, why would you want to sever your relationship with somebody that you once loved? Why would you want to sever the relationship with an ex when you could just simply have a nice handshake and move on and raise your children the way that they should be raised in separate households? So I think dealing with parents and changing legislation. So let's go to that. Trying to work the system is what we've tried to do here in Illinois and across the country for many, many years. It's very, very difficult because you're up against the judges associations. You're up against the bar associations. These people don't want their cottage industry changed. They like what's happening because if there's money to be made and checks to be written and parents that they can pull in and get that, that overhead paid for a secretary or two, then why not do it? They don't want it changed. But saying that, going to your legislator, my father was a legislator for years and went to Congress, and look, these guys and gals put on their pants one leg at a time, just like we do. So they're there because you elected them, and the reason that you can go to them and ask them for guidance and help in moving forward on a piece of legislation that you feel is important and is not just going to affect you, but a bigger picture, which is what this is. I served on the Illinois Family Law Study Committee here in Illinois, appointed by Speaker Madigan, who is no longer with us, longest serving Speaker of the House in the United States, and he's gone now, but appointed me, and we looked at the Illinois Marriage and Dissolution Act in Illinois that has not been looked at in 45 years. The changes that we proposed weren't all adopted. Some of them were, and is it better now? Yes. Is it helping children of alienation? No. I think what's going to happen, especially here, my brother is a family court judge here. And I think what's going to happen is these old guys are going to matriculate out of the system eventually. They're going to retire. And you're going to get in younger judges, females who have young children, who've experienced parental alienation. And they're going to understand what they're seeing that's right in front of them. I've heard my brother use the term from the bench, and I've never been so proud of him because he's lived it. And so it's easy to spot when you know the signs. So judicial education and legislative reform, extremely important, and any parent can get involved in that.
Wow, thank you so much. And you're right. I mean, I kind of heard it from Art a little bit and from Dr. Roseman that it's an institution that doesn't want to change. And it's very unfortunate that it's the money, and it's supposed to be, protecting our rights as citizens. But it's through these discussions and that enlightenment, it's like, you know, we're able to hear what reality is, and that's where change begins. It all begins with awareness. So thank you so much, Jill.
Michele, I just want to add one more quick thing. You know, when I walked into the family court system, I had never been there before. And I thought that truth and right and justice were what prevailed there, you know, and I think parents walk in there thinking that they know they're right. They know they had a relationship with their child that was unbreakable. And you walk in there thinking, surely this judge is going to see this and it will be right. It's not. So don't walk in with that in your head because it just bursts your bubble immediately.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Jill. And we have another guest from across the globe. I want to introduce Chris, who's actually also been impacted by parental alienation, and he has an organization called Legally Stolen. So I want to give him a few minutes because we weren't really able to introduce him. So I'm going to bring him on for a few minutes. And hey, Chris, thank you so much. If you could just unmute yourself. We would just like to hear a little bit about your story and really about your organization, about Legally Stolen. I think it's in context of what we're talking about here in the US, but it's unfortunate. It sounds like this is a global issue when it comes to the legal system. So please share your story. Are you there, Chris? I know he was having some technical issues coming in and out. So if not, we'll give him a few more minutes. You know, we also have another video I want to share real quick for another parent. He's called Dad Advocate, and he actually he shared a video with us. He wanted to share his story with us. So while we're waiting for Chris to come on, I'd like to just share a little bit about Dad Advocate story. So if you just give me a few moments, I will bring that up. So.
In terms of my own personal examples of parental alienation during lockdown, for me over the years, parental alienation has taken many forms. One main one has been my ex constantly trying to unilaterally control everything with regards to our children, cutting me out and ultimately promoting herself as the dominant, better parent. Generally devaluing me as their father. COVID and lockdown has just provided her with yet another opportunity to alienate me in this way and essentially mainly steal time from me. So when the restrictions were introduced, she repeatedly flouted them, sort of making me out to be the boring one by sticking to the restrictions. I mean, she's always tried to be the more popular parent. When lockdown first happened, she even tried to take them on an extended holiday to the Caribbean for the duration of COVID. She claimed it would be safer, and now thinking about it, you know, they would have been there for a year. I mean, it was ridiculous. When I refused to give my permission, she then claimed that they had COVID symptoms and so had to isolate and be with her for 2 weeks, and that they wouldn't be able to see me. And then eventually, incidentally, they didn't have COVID, and you know, within a matter of days, she was allowing them out and not following the requirements. However, after about 6 or 7 months of her rule breaking, it turned out that she actually then did get COVID, and so then they had to isolate again for another 2 weeks, so they couldn't come to me, and that turned into them again developing symptoms of COVID, although again she didn't get them tested, and within less than a week she wasn't making them follow the requirements to isolate, and she was letting them out. So ultimately, I think parental alienation within the COVID crisis just provided her with the opportunity to do huge land grabs in terms of their time with me. And ultimately, she knows that that will hurt me.
Okay, wow. So even with the COVID, it seems like it has escalated. You know, parental alienation has been, you know, an issue for many years, but this past year, it peers that have been hearing stories, of how even Lala was sharing with us, how it's even more difficult to see their children. And so I like to go, I know we said this is going to be an hour discussion, but we're reaching up to an hour, but this is so powerful. So I would like to kind of continue a little bit on. If I could get permission from our panelists, I would love to go on. And awesome, thank you so much. And first I'm gonna just go out to Chris real quick, because like I said, he's calling in all the way from the UK. I'm gonna see if I can unmute him and see if he can just, let's see if we can hear. Nope, can't unmute him just yet. Okay, but we appreciate that you're here with us. So I'd like to go ahead and just open up to the panel. This is just open, a discussion we are having. We talked about some impact. We heard some stories, how us as children have been impacted, and as parents, and really our panel is about strategic solutions. What can we do today? I believe just having this panel today and creating awareness is one way, but I would like to put out to the panel, like, what are some of the solutions that we can do?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Oh, Chris is available. So let's go to Chris real quick. Yay, Chris, thank you for joining us. So please tell us where you're joining us from, and just share a little bit about your story.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you, Chris. Hello? I love technology. Thank you so much for joining us, Chris. It was working earlier today. So are you there, Chris?
So can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
I would love to hear your story. Can you share a little bit? You did it.
I'm having an absolute technology breakdown here.
Okay. Well, you're doing well. Thank you.
I'm joining you from the south of England. Okay. I'm joining you from the south of England.
Yes. We hear you.
But, I don't know where to start really. I mean,
well, you know what we're going to do.
Okay. You can hear me, but I'm having a very bad technology issue with breakdowns and so on. I think that, for me, I've been through a catastrophic case of this.
I think
this, and I picked up on a few things that people have said throughout this. One of the things was the stigma of losing children. And it's trying to get people to actually believe what is going on in the courts. People want to believe that there is a law and there is a family law system, but essentially, I just see it as a.
Okay, well, Chris, we are so appreciative that you're here, and I believe we have a video of you, so we will love to play your video. I will look for that, but maybe we can close out with this video. But I'd like to go ahead and open up to our panel. As I said, we were talking about, the strategic solutions. We've heard so many horrific stories, terrible stories, but, we want to create hope. I love what Jill says. She picks up the phone and talks to parents, because I believe one of the theme I'm hearing is that parents think they're all alone in this cycle and don't really understand. And that's what's great about these communities and support organizations to help you navigate not only through the legal system, but just the emotional and the mental health. I'm hearing that, the mental health is really an issue. So who would like to share some of their thoughts or solutions about, how we can, tackle issues about parental alienation? Who would like to share? The floor is open.
I'll jump in. So I want to go back on the real quickly touch back on the previous topic, and then go back and then move over into this. My father was a judge, and he was one of the good ones who actually believed that every person in front of him, he was permanently impacting their lives. So he paused and treated every person as if they were the only one in the court. Unfortunately, he was incredibly rare. I know all the stories from inside, and judges have unbelievably huge egos, unbelievably huge, and you're not going to change them. It takes 30 years for the Supreme Court to recognize issues before they take action on it. The faster way is through the legislature. The faster way is through directly communicating with state bar. How do we do that? Well, you actually write to your congressman, you write to your senator, you get their attention. There's all sorts of state bar. There's family law state bar meetings occurring all the time. Ask to speak at it. Write the who's putting it on and say, hey, can I be a panelist on here? And let me explain to you what it feels like from the client side. Get that message out there. When laws are passed, judges are forced to implement those laws. Case law is almost useless. It takes way too long. That's not the method to go. So go that way. As far as how to survive this and how to make awareness, well, if you haven't noticed, there was this thing called sexual harassment that was rather prevalent in our society for decades and decades and decades. And it wasn't until Me Too, it wasn't until social media took over, and that this became an accepted issue and a well-known issue. And we can really learn from that. That if something that was known and known not to be okay still couldn't get anything done until there was a massive public awareness of it through Me Too, that things actually started changing and workplace started changing and attitudes started changing. That's how we can piggyback on that idea and get it out there, because just as the doctor was talking about how many attorneys themselves are of a child of a broken family. My parents actually got divorced and then 5 years later got remarried. But I experienced that as well. It is everywhere. So and countless people I know, they're mothers who have lost their children, they're fighting with their spouse. But if we get this out on social media, a lot of people are going to connect and they're going to resonate with this, and we can get a momentum going just like Me Too and make awareness real. And that's how actually courts do start to change, is when they see a social awareness change, they start to act on it as well.
Thank you so much, Art. And would someone else like to share a little bit more about their experience? I love what you said, that it's really through the legislative, it's not the law, but really, and one person can make a difference, right? It's one person joining together with another person, we can make change. So thank you for that, Art. What about you, Brian? I know you've been a child of parental alienation. I know you had an organization, but what are your thoughts? What are some solutions that you could share with us?
Yeah, I think I would say to the parents, just don't give up. It was odd when I found my father actually cut me off. So 1997, my father told me, I hope you do have a great life. And he divested himself of a few things that had to do with my mother. And one of them was a letter that she wrote him when I was probably 7, begging to see me, asking questions like, does he know who I am? Is he good in school? And I've heard many stories of alienated parents sending gifts or letters to their children, but the children never get them. Or they're called to talk to the children on the phone and they just can't, the parent won't let them speak. So what I've also heard, and I really feel this is true in my heart, is sooner or later, your children are going to see what the other parent didn't give. Because it seems like they don't just throw it in the trash, they hide it somewhere. And when the child gets older and realizes you did care, even though you knew they weren't getting the gifts or the letters or the phone calls, but you kept giving and you kept giving and you kept trying, that can be a huge, huge motivator when that child becomes old enough to be a critical thinker and to take their own actions in life. So I think it's the biggest thing for the parents. Just don't give up. You have to keep your sanity through the whole thing because it's so difficult, but still don't stop trying. So sooner or later, that child will know you were always there, always trying.
Thank you for that, Brian. And that's the thing I'm hearing, just don't give up. Not only as a parent, but as children, don't give up also. So Linda, I would love to hear your thoughts and ideas about some solutions. I know that you've experienced not only that, as a parent, but just as, a family member. So let's hear a couple of your ideas of some solutions of how we can overcome this.
Well, thank you, Michelle. I'm basically going to echo on what everyone else has said. I mean, awareness is key. A lot of people don't know what it is that they're experiencing, much less where to start looking for help. And my thing is, a lot of parents too, who are the alienators, don't even realize what they're doing. Like, they don't even realize the impact of what they're doing to their children. And, like others have said, they think they're right. They think they're right, and they think that they are doing what's best, or they are what's best. Not checking. A lot of times as parents, we don't check with our kids. We do, because I'm the parent. What I, do as I say, not as I do. And we feel like we know better. And so we do what we think is right and don't consult with them to see, hey, how does this make you feel? Like, what are you feeling right now? What are what questions do you have? And then they could turn around and be like, hey, I think it's really crappy that I can't see my dad or my mom, or, can I talk to them? Can we sit together and talk? Because a lot of times, there's this tug of war and the child is in the middle, and it's like one on one side, one on the other side, and they're not all together to say, hey, let's come up with a plan that works for everyone, a plan that works for all of us, not just me, not just you, but a plan that ultimately is healthy and good for everyone. And there's always going to be one person that's really butthurt and who is in their ego and really mad. But ultimately, at the end of the day, like, we made this human together. Like, I may have birthed the child, mom, and not in myself particular, but just saying as mom, we carry our children, and they develop within us, they are birthed from us, but it takes two people to create that one human. And not one of us has more right to that child than the other. That child wants and deserves the love of both parents, no matter what the situation, unless for some reason the other parent is putting that child in danger. So for me, it's definitely awareness. It's definitely knowing that you're not alone. There is help out there. And understand that everything you say and do in front of your child ultimately affects them and will impact how they feel and grow up. Abandonment issues. There's just so many different ways that this impacts the child and how they grow up. And as adults, we still have that inner child, and there's those little wounds that happened as we were kids, whether, we were told no, or we didn't get to do something, or whatever issues that we have to deal with, or watching our parents fight over stupid stuff that we didn't even understand. Our inner child needs healing too. And a lot of times I think, how does my inner child feel? What didn't I get? And look at my kids and I'm like, okay, why are they acting this way? All right, I remember being a kid at that age, and just try to talk to them about how this affects them. And so I think as parents, we just need to take our egos out of the equation and just really focus on our kids, making sure that they're healthy and getting the love they deserve. That's mine. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Linda. So appreciate that. It's definitely about communication and really putting your children first. And I do want to show one more clip from Dad Advocate. He has some strategies he'd like to share, and then I'd like to go to Lala. So let's go ahead and let's play this.
And then finally, strategies that I use to cope with parental alienation. They don't really vary before what I did before COVID, what I've done during COVID, and what I'll do after COVID. I have some fundamental rules that I don't engage with the parental alienation. I absolutely do not retaliate, and I keep calm with the kids, and I need to remember that these are not their own feelings. They're feelings that they have been given, feelings that they've been made to feel. I manage the parental alienation indirectly, so I show basically by example that I am not what I am being made out to be. Be fair and consistent, resist the temptation to engage in competitive parenting or being the popular parent. Make your time safe, don't pressurize it, don't try and make it amazing, keep it simple and secure. Allow them to act out. Often acting out means that they feel safe with you, and that they can't do that with the other parent. Definitely stick to routines. Be there when you'll say you'll be. Stick to the agreements you've made. And basically keep your cool. Don't feed the propaganda by being wound up by the parental alienation, because they almost want you to fulfill the image that they're portraying of you to your children. And don't be hard on yourself if you do react. It's tough. It's the most horrible thing to be subjected to, and to see your children being subjected to. And hopefully things like this, these live streams, will help raise the awareness of it and make it socially unacceptable, because that's what will stop this. Is it's already illegal, but it still happens because it's very hard to prove, it's very hard to prosecute. So there is no harsher prosecutor than the public eye and those people around you, and the judgment of people around you if they see you doing this kind of thing. So the less socially acceptable it is, the less it will happen.
Wow. So we did get the video from Chris, and thank you for Dad Advocate for just really sharing his thoughts about some strategies, really looking at from the child's point of view, and just really understanding and loving them, and not knowing, and really understanding that it's not their fault that they're being say lied to by the other parent. But I loved his strategy that he shared with us. So before I go to Lala, I like to go ahead and share with you Chris's video, because I'm so thankful that he's joining us all the way from the UK. I know we're having some technical difficulties, but I really want to share his story. So give me 1 moment and I'll bring up his story.
I am a father to 3 beautiful children. They are my absolute world, and all I could have ever hoped and dreamt of having. My proudest achievement in life. I left my wife, the mother, in 2014 and started suffering the consequences of parenting.
Looks like we may have a little technical difficulties.
Looks like we lost Michele.
Technology is not our friend today.
All right, Lala, why don't you just jump in and tell us your story or your response?
Thank you. Roger that, Art. I appreciate that. Again, I'm very grateful for everyone that came today, because being a child of divorce and the impacts that I've gone through in my life, I can tell you it has been a journey. But the biggest thing that I've seen, the best awareness that I had is the dysfunction that we experience as a collective. Past the rules, past the politics of the judicial system, it's dysfunctional. It's dysfunctional for a woman to walk into a law firm and state she doesn't know what to do, and she's getting ready to go through a divorce. And the first thing that's implemented is fear and anger. So she's already been given a strategy to attack the other side before she has any idea what the ramifications is. And the same thing for the father. So when you're setting things in motion and not considering the child, but you're setting things in motion for they're going to get you or you're going to get them type of method, you could get into the situation to where you're in so deep that you don't even recognize what happened, nor do you even remember what the conflict is about. So going through this journey and then reliving my childhood and remembering the conflict that I needed to address, not just within myself, but also maintaining a level of centeredness, like Brian was saying, and then Davicate was also saying as well, so that you don't lose your cool, but you have to be able to implement new strategies because you're dealing with some underlining roots of wounds that you haven't even faced yet from your childhood. And so having that before me, I was able to tell right away, it's not the child's fault. They didn't cause this conflict. And so trying to engage with the other side to give a level of neutrality isn't there, because in that moment, they're angry. And then they're also being sold a strategy. So going to law school and looking at, a professor telling me that all you have to do is convince a jury that a fire truck is blue, even though it's really red. The word strategy just stung so deep. And then from that moment, I began to search and search and search. And then I found Jill's workbook, 911, her workbook, and also reached out to her, but I wasn't alone in that moment. I had a very strong support group, which is very, very important, because when you're going through parental alienation, you can't really identify what it is in that moment. You're reliving childhood trauma from what happened, and you're trying to process all of these different emotions and still maintain a level of centeredness so that you can see your child. And there's no reasoning when there comes a dysfunction. It is definitely dysfunctional. And so having support systems that I had, even like Interfaith Wealth Builders, getting coaching and all types of various mentoring so that I can maintain a level of focus and looking at what strategies can I look at, because the problems are going to continue. There's nothing I can do about that. And the other parent is going to continue to raise conflict. So if the conflict is, well, we can't drive. Okay, well then we can fly. Well, then I can't get the ticket. Oh, okay, well then we can take care of those strategies as well. And flying 404 flights and having family members that are taking jobs in hospitality so that we can take care of what other excuses. Not all parents are able to be in that position. So you're looking at, they have to fight to see their child, then they have to fight to fund to defend themselves, then, continue that for God knows how many years with litigation. And even in the midst of this, you're still trying to identify with who you are. And so when I became an adult, the first thing I started doing down Discovery was wanting to know more about me and wanting to know more about the other parent. And, when you're in your 30s and you're finding out that you have siblings, and there are various secrets, you begin to understand that, it is highly dysfunctional. And it is definitely personal between the two parents. And it definitely doesn't have anything to do with the children in that moment. And so being able to look at my child and implement strategies so that they know they're not going to engage into the conflict, and that they have a freedom to have their own identity. The court system, if they're going to continue to be dysfunctional, because that's what it is, it primarily is dysfunction. When you have evidence and enough support to defend the other side's case, be it mom, be it dad, and you still decide to rule against that because of politics, well, that's dysfunctional. And now you're breeding that over and over again, and it's a vicious cycle. And so we have to start somewhere where there are implemented programs to where the children can have behavioral rescue, because it is very, very difficult when one parent is keeping you in the middle, and you borderline or have to compromise your own peace because you're living in two separate homes. And how is a kid to maintain studying in school? How are they able to focus and maintain relationships? They can't. It makes it very, very difficult. And through this, and even contacting Jill and Kim Warner and Linda and Honora and all the different support systems that I have, one of the main things that I realized was this is highly dysfunctional. How 404 flights? How is this even reasonable? And how is it that we live in a world where there's so much injustice that the money becomes the main priority, but yet we're still breeding the same type of behavior over and over again? You know, so my position is to eliminate the actual strategies that are used, you know, but not everyone has an opportunity to go to school to understand that it's a strategy. Not everybody has an opportunity to know that as a client, you're being given a magic bean, as Art would tell me, you know. And so you're talking about a lot of psychological damage that you're doing to human beings, which is sick, absolutely sick. So we have to be able to come together to force the judicial system to implement programs from a behavioral standpoint. And we have to be able to have programs that are definitely going to be in the best interest of the child, because what the state says the best interest of the child and what the law says with the best interest of the child is not always the best for the best interest of the child. And so I can tell you that with this journey and flying from different hubs and getting to know all types of different various airline and hotel staff where they know me on a first time basis, and showing up to an airport and your child is not there, you know, and you bring this into the court and there's no change. Why? Because we're still paying into that system. So the behavior doesn't just have to start within the home. The behavior needs to stop and change within the judicial system. So if a judge is in law school, you know, and they're in the next running to be voted for, well, you know, I think that they need to have a demand for some assessment, some psyche evals. You know, whether that can happen or not, I don't know right now. But what I do know is it does start with dysfunction. Dysfunction breeds continuously, and it morphs itself into something much more, you know? So I'm thankful that, you know, for every, you know, I would say conflict that has been given to me, I've been able to navigate it with strategies through education, with strategies with meeting people like Jill, Kim Warner, Linda, even Brian, you're amazing, Michelle, Art. You know, support is hard, but it also wears on your family members and it wears on your support staff. So exactly how much longer is this going to go on before we continue to have a high rise in suicide? You know, the dysfunction that Dr. Roseman was talking about, addictions, all of this breeds from dysfunction, and it starts there. And if you don't have people like Jill or Kim Warner or other people that are impacting change, that are forcing legislature to look at things that they're avoiding, we're lost. So I speak out and I stand on that. And I can tell you that forgiveness is important. Letting anger go is, you got to do that. The conflict started because a tug of war. The conflict started because the parent was angry and wanted to be vengeful to the other parent because they haven't healed within themselves. So I'm able to even put that aside and look at the other spouse and say, you know what, right now, this person doesn't know what they're doing. They're hurt. And I'm not even going to take it personal right now because I can't, because they have to go down that journey themselves and they have to go through that healing themselves. But in the meantime, for me and for my children, I'm going to study that neutrality to have that there, because I was that kid that didn't know who I was until I got into my adulthood. And then you marry back into that. And then you make choices in those relationships back into that. And it starts dictating. So that's my solution for strategy is we have to stop avoiding what is, and we have to be more direct in the education, because it is hard to find resources for parental alienation, especially in minority communities. You know, minority communities are taught not to talk about it. Don't go to court. So just basically don't see your kid. And yeah, they'll hunt for you when they're 18. That breeds a whole nother dysfunction because now the kid feels neglected and rejected, and it just goes on from there. So we have to be able to educate, whether it's minority communities or not, that they do have a choice. They are entitled to rights, but now we just have to get the judicial system to make sure that the rights that you put in that order, you're actually going to make equal for both parents. You're actually going to apply those rights to both parents, because at some point you're putting it on paper, but the other parent is allowed to treat it like a circus over and over again. And the platforms are not to be utilized for vengeance. They're to be utilized for solutions. So that's what I have to say about that. Thank you, Michele, once again. Thank you, everyone.
I just want to thank everyone for I Speak Out, but it's actually We Speak Out. It's a collective. And so thank you for that. And I am going to do my best to show Chris this, because I just so appreciate him coming from the UK. As I said earlier, this is not just a United States issue. This is a global issue, and it's a phenomenal. And so I like to, honor him by sharing his video. And then we're going to close out with just each of you just sharing one closing thought. So give me one moment and let's try this again.
I am a father to 3 beautiful children. They are my absolute world and all I could have ever hoped and dreamt of having. My proudest achievement in life. I left my wife, the mother, in 2014 and started suffering the consequences of parental alienation almost immediately. Small things, sabotages, constant little problems, then led on to greater issues with false allegations in which I lost my children for a month for the first time, and that really completely ripped my heart out. I'd never felt pain like it. Time went on and another false allegation of such a vile, horrific nature occurred that I can't really talk about it, but it left me pretty broken again and not seeing my children for a further 3 weeks. This went on for about 5 years until the most horrific thing happened in 2019 in March, when I dropped the children back to their mother, and once again a false allegation came forward and my children essentially vanished. They vanished from their schools, they vanished from their home. They were kidnapped, in my view. I was then reportedly so terrifying that the children were so scared of me that they couldn't see me anymore. And this legal battle has been going on now for over 2 years. I've had 0 contact with my children for over 2 years now. Just about every agency and courts and so on are involved, but no one actually appears to want to get to the truth and remedy the situation and return my children to their father and my children to me. I feel now it's just an opportunity for people to be making money. I have provided witness statement after witness statement with untold evidence in black and white, colour, film of the truth, and no evidence has ever been produced to anyone that justifies the action that's going on. We're now in a situation where the children have a legal guardian and they have a legal barrister supporting their case, who again appear to want to do nothing more than prolong the situation and make even more money out of it. It took her 3 weeks to take the children away from me with an urgent court application, and when I took her back to court after she'd breached a court order, it took me the best part of a year to get a hearing. The pressure became so great in the end that I had tried through various avenues getting myself into trouble with the law in a non-violent way to try and get in front of judges so that they could help see the truth. I ended up with criminal records for it. I've ended up with a criminal record for something that I didn't do at all, and the criminality was actually children's mother calling the police. Catastrophically, I attempted suicide at the beginning of of December 2020, and fortunately survived that. And now coming back stronger. I have written a book, I have created a website, Instagrams and Facebooks, and I am joining what appears to be far too many people out there fighting the same battle. I call my book and my campaign Legally Stolen Children. The website is www.legallystolenchildren.com. I am doing my best to help other people. I believe my book is a resource that I could have used probably 4 or 5 years ago. I hope it can help other people. I hope it can help end the child abuse that is parental alienation. And I hope to help as many people as I can while still living a very lonely and empty life without my children. But as they say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I speak out. I speak out for Cheyedentity, and I speak out for legally stolen children. Thank you.
Okay, wow, another powerful story. And, I want to go out to our audience because we've had comments. We have Joel saying she's loving this conversation. Thank you, Elle. And we have Michael Allen saying, hey, Dr. Mark. And we have Annika say, great panel. So I just want to let you know that you are definitely making a difference and creating awareness today. We have Bailey Smith saying, hey, Dr. Roseman. So really, thank you so much. And now I would like to go ahead and close out the panel and just do go around the panel and just kind of share a closing thought and what we can do next. And this is one day Awareness Day, but it's an everyday fight. And so I just want to thank each and every one of you. So let's go ahead. I'll start off with Art. Can you just share with us, 30 seconds or less, what's your closing thoughts?
So I want you guys to get a book. It's called Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, V as in Victor, O-S-S. This is about hostage negotiation. He's the lead FBI hostage negotiator for international hostage taking. There is no more emotionally charged situation than a hostage situation. And he talks about how to talk people down from their emotions, whether it be business, relationship, or literally a hostage and being murdered, how to talk them down, how to identify, how to calm things down using your words, how to communicate to the other side so that they feel recognized and they calm down and they can listen to your side. It's a fantastic book. Again, it's called Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, V-O-S-S.
Thank you, Art. And Brian, your closing comments and advice.
It's all about the children, bottom line. And parents have got to find a way, those who are finding it difficult, to pull their emotion and hatred out of the situation and think of what's best for the children. And unless the child is being abused by the other parent, there's no reason why a child should not have both parents. They need both parents. And that's it. It's all about the children.
Thank you for that, Brian. It's all about the children. Sometimes we think child abuse has to be something that you see a mark, but these are emotional marks. So thank you for that, Brian. And Linda, we'd love to hear from you. What was your closing thoughts?
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Child abuse is not just physical, it's definitely emotional. And I just want to encourage everyone to go to cheyedentity.org and look at the resources, reach out to everyone who is here on this panel. It really, tell anyone, like if you know of anyone in the situation going through parental alienation, who are in an ugly divorce, separation, custody battle, whatever it may be, let them know, like there is help. And, it definitely is about the kids first and making sure that we are taking care of our children and that they are getting the love and the support that they need. And it's out there and we have it. Look at just the amazing people who have been on this panel today discussing their experiences, their strength, their hope, and what they have been able to learn up on this journey, and the importance of getting the word out there to other people, because nothing is going to change if nothing changes. And we have to change our approach to this. And I want to say it's a global pandemic. It might not be like a virus like COVID, but it is a pandemic and everyone suffers. It's an equal opportunity pandemic. And the only way to stop it is, we got to put on those masks and we have to really, really fight for the cause and let people know that we're here and there's help. So please visit Cheyedentity.org, learn more about what you can do to help us raise awareness and spread the word. And yeah, thank you for letting me be a part of this amazing panel today. Thanks,
Thank you so much, Linda. And yes, we're going to have all our guests, experts, and participants information. So please reach out to Cheyedentity.org. We'll be happy to get you in contact with all the amazing guests. I'm going to reach out to Chris one moment to see maybe if his technology is working. I'll get if you want to try to come on mute, Chris, because we would love to hear some closing thoughts from you. Thank you so much for sharing your amazing story and legally stolen children. I believe that is also, you know, we have campaigns like, you know, I speak out. So I think Legally Stolen is a campaign that, you know, talking about his story. So are you there, Chris? Okay, we're going to move on. And now I'm going to ask Dr. Roseman if he could just, you know, share his closing thoughts.
Thank you. So many really wonderful points that have been shared by all the guests. My final thoughts would be that you know, children can't have dual loyalty. When they are targeted, when they are alienated, they cannot have dual loyalty. They cannot express it. They cannot share it, but know in their hearts that they really long for you, the absent parent, as in Florida terms, the non-custodial or non-residential parent. They do long for you, but they feel guilty. One of my colleagues, Dr. Abe Warnklein in Montreal, said that when he interviews children to do an evaluation, the kids come in of different ages and they are angry, they're hostile, they want to be quiet, they don't want to reveal, and then he says, what did mom, what did dad tell you to say? I'm really eager to know. So that kid will tell exactly what they were prepared, what they were prompted to say. And once they finish saying that with anger and venom, then Warnklein leans back and says, I am so glad you shared that. Now, what do you think? And it satisfies the child in knowing that they had revealed, they didn't betray their parent. They did what the parent, their custodial parent, had wanted them to say, but also they were able to share what was in their heart, what was in their mind. And so there's a 3-step process I call acknowledgement, recognition, and support. I'm sure I stole it, but I want to share it with you. Acknowledge where you are at, all of us as professionals, as parents, as advocates, as attorneys, but we are all involved in a holistic approach to improving, preserving family ties when parents separate. I think it's really important that we acknowledge where we're at, and as Attorney Scott had said, just recognize what you're feeling, and now begin to release it and find comfort through meditation or other option. So, and with support, you can. And others have said the importance of support groups. Don't deny yourself the pleasure of uniting with people who, as you, need you as much as you need them in helping you build a new community of acceptance and acknowledgement and support. I want to thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Dr. Roseman, and it's so true. You're not alone as a parent, and it's about not being ashamed. I think, as Jill said earlier, about the stigma. And so I like to go to Jill now and hear her closing thoughts about today's panel, or just about moving forward. So please, the floor is yours, Jill.
Thank you. So I think today you guys put together a terrific panel of people, and we heard about parental alienation from many, many different perspectives today. But in reality, there's a very finite amount of information that you need to know about alienation. I mean, it's happening to children. Parents are suffering, children are suffering. The judicial system is bad. Legislation is bad. It needs to be fixed. We're all on the same page with that. So I think increasing the awareness, the social media. I love what Art said, getting out there. The Me Too thing was not a flash in the pan. It made dramatic changes across this country and around the world. So all we need is one flash in the pan to get this going. And I think if we can do that, that's just going to be the pivotal change that we've needed for the last 16 years that I've been in this and tried to make that happen. So keep working, and parents can do that, and grandparents can do that, and anybody who has a voice and has the confidence to do it. And I think, we celebrate today Parental Alienation Awareness Day, but I look forward to the day when every day is a day we think about our children and that children can have both parents. So parents have to stay strong. Just what I said in my video, staying strong, surround yourself with a support system. You're not alone. Look right here. See a group of aggressive and they do, and we're here to talk, and they're visible. Absolutely, we do. But keep going, stay strong, and make sure that you are looking for the hope that your children will come back to you. That's all I can say. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you so much, Jill. Thank you for that enlightening, just keeping hope. And that's what this panel is all about. And I would like to go to Lala. So I really am so thankful and grateful that, through her organization, Cheyedentity, said, hey, I want to, create this panel. And, it starts with one, it starts with two, and we can do so much when we unified. And even though, as Jill said, the stories are diverse, everyone has their different experience, but the bottom line, it is about our children, our next generation, our generation of children. And so Lala, if you can go ahead and just close us out with your final thoughts, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Michelle, and thank you again, everyone. I'd like to close out and say this. To the parents that are considering suicide or considering to give up, I need you to understand that there are two people on this panel that are survivors of parental alienation. Now, we may not have survived all the wounds, but we're here today. There are resources available to assist you. Your child is going to look for you no matter what, because they want to know the other half of who they are. There's nothing that's ever going to change that. No matter how much they get reprogrammed, no matter the ill words that they say, it doesn't matter. They're still going to want to know who you are. It took two of you to make that child. And as a mother, I want to tell to the other parent, as far as the alienating part, when you have a child, such as my children, and a particular child who is also special needs, you have to consider what psychologically the child has to go through, the process, not only having a special need, or they don't necessarily have to have special needs, but on top of that, also processing the conflict and their day-to-day routine. And I want to share the importance of getting resources for help for any old wounds that parents may have that they have not resolved. The reason for this campaign is alongside with these wonderful panelists here. But when I tell you that it is very, very important, when you have a child that is 9 years old and they want to commit suicide and they're institutionalized, these type of behaviors affect your child's future. I'm coming. I am speaking out. We are speaking out. And Art can tell you firsthand, me too. I speak out. We'll be right next to that. We have resources, even with Jill, at PAAOUSA.org. I'm sorry, PAAO.org.
Thank you.
I think I messed it up again. But you have resources. You're not alone. And there are individuals who have paved the way for you, pioneers that have paved the way for you. Stay away from the politics. Stay neutral, do your self-healing, and join us. Join any organization to where you can unite. If you're in the minority community and you're concerned about the resources or conditioned to not talk about it, we need our voices to come forward now, because it is not changing without you. Whether you're a woman, whether you're a man, grandparent, aunt, cousin, uncle, nephew, it doesn't matter. Come forth now and speak out, because I'm coming. I'm coming to get your story, and I'm coming to advocate and stand beside you to let you know that you can get through this. There are people that have paved the way for me. I'm here to pave the way for you. I speak out.
Thank you for speaking out. And I want to give one more resource. We have Dr. Mark Roseman, who has a new magazine who's coming out. And like I said, you can reach us. We're on Facebook. You can go to cheyedentity.org, or you can even Google Dr. Mark Roseman. But the name of his new magazine is, if you want to just share with us, if you want to come back on just a minute, just share with us a little bit. Because I know you said it was a magazine you kind of sunlighted and now you're bringing it back. So just share with us that resource a little bit more.
Oh, you were so kind. Thank you. During this pandemic, I think many of us have found opportunities to assert our creativity, to reflect on more of who we are, to connect with things that give us some joy. And one of the things that I've done was to create a magazine. It's an online digital quarterly magazine called Contemporary Family. And the focus is really to help parents and practitioners globally who are addressing the problems caused by alienating behaviors, parental alienation, child custody matters, what's called high conflict. And retired Judge Philip Marcus, retired judge from the state of Israel, Chief Judge Family Court, he said it's not high conflict divorce, it's high conflict personalities. And so I created a publication which invites practitioners, particularly to share their research, to share their applied field interventions that we can all learn from around the world. It's called Contemporary Family. And if you email me, I'll certainly send you a link to that. But there's a website, it's contemporaryfamilymagazine.org.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Or .com. I'm confused.
Well, actually, we're going to put all the links on the Facebook page, and just want to remind you that we have our that Cheyedentity. I have it on the ticker there, so that's the correct website, www.cheyedentity.org. And we've had so many, I want to say, just people who have advocated for this cause. I also want to give thanks to another organization, Interfaith Wealth Builders. They were part of this journey with Lala, so thank you. I think that's Ken's organization, but really thank you so much for joining us today, each and every one of you. Thank you, Art, Brian, Lala, Jill, Linda. Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Dr. Roseman. And we're looking forward to, this is just the start, to many conversations, because it does through discussions and conversations, as Jill said, and she's waving. I don't know if you had one last thing you'd like to say before we close out, but it definitely starts with a conversation. So would you like to say something else, Jill, as we close out? Okay, I think she closed out.
I'm thankful for all of you. I mean, this is a team, and this team going forward is very strong. And I think we're going to make a big difference, coupled with all of the people that were listening today and all of the parents across the country and around the globe that have the ability to join us without being in person, so that's great. Technology is good that way. But I just look forward to big changes before I leave this earth, and know that my work meant something.
Thank you, Jill, and just thank you for being a resource to Lala, because I've seen her journey. We've walked the journey. Like Lala and Linda, so just thank you so much for being that resource. And it's all about, I don't want to even say it's about paying it forward. It's just about humanity, right? It's about caring. We talked about that. I think Art, shared about loving, about forgiveness. It's about all those things. And it's really about healing the family unit. Children deserve both of their parents, their mother and their father, right? Regardless of what we think of the other parent, the child is innocent. So with that, I just want to thank you for joining us today. And please, join us on our social media. We're also on Instagram, Facebook. We have our website. Please connect with us, like, comment, and share, because it is about sharing to create awareness. So with that, bye-bye for now.